The AIOP event. AIOP stands for Alice Institutes of Panic. There's history behind Alice, who was a scientist that another player created. We had a little contest because the direction that the season was going to start going into was, okay, where does this mutation come from? And there were some theories, and the two main theories was what Tempest came up with, the player of Tempest. It may have been a collaborative effort because I kind of combined all the submissions. But there was so Tempest's theory by a scientist named Palamic Stillwell who worked for Gate found a way to create the mutation to awaken it. Because you got to remember, G-types, they're born, they have the power in them. It's just a matter of when is it triggered, when is it awoken. And every cycle, it's reawoken. And Tempest discovered a way to reawaken it. However, Alice was also a master of this science in her own right. Without going too deep into that, her apprentice, someone who picked up where she left off and carried it into another direction, was Dr. Skriller. Now, Dr. Skriller discovered a dimension called Panet. And just how he explained in the episode, Panet is simply, to his knowledge and his view, is tapping into another dimension that contains whatever you're drawing from, and you sort of become a gate. The Panet is pretty much a gateway to that dimension. The player Myra Dare is the one who actually created this whole thing, and I thought it was cool because I wanted to have an alternate way of gaining powers, or at least introduce an alternate way to kind of create that divide. And they're both right. They're both technically right. They just found alternate ways of tapping into the tank. The tank, you got to remember, is the overarching reality of everything. The tank is an artificial device that's pretty much growing all of you G-types inside of it. But that information is so meta that it's unobtainable. But there's science within inside of this that makes sense. That's how large the idea is of the tank, that there's science within the tank that really does make sense as to how these powers are obtained. It's just the context of it is so different. So that's why you have Tempest, who is administering a virus that awakens the mutation. It's a bona fide virus that awakens the mutation. Palamic Stillwell found a way to awaken the mutation to it's radiation, so it kind of like that patch update, which is the cycle when it's restarting. Whenever it gets hit with a gamma catastrophe, the gamma radiation is what awakens the mutation inside of you, and this is repeated every single cycle. But all it is just administering your update to your character, so they pick up where they left off in previous cycles. So all that virus is doing is pretty much injecting an update inside of a G-type. But Panet theory is, instead of injecting this information into you, Panet theory discovered a dimension that just lets you go to the information. And this particular information that it's going to is information that was created by the Instigator and Deathtude and I forget the third scientist's name, forgive me. But more so between Deathtude and Instigator, these are really powerful mutations that they created that are stored away in the tank, in a pretty much in a like a a safe area. or so they thought. And that's why Def 2, when he was explaining to Rezanok and Nam, and we'll get to that, when he was explaining that, he was pretty much saying, all it takes is for a genius to figure it out. And, apparently Def 2, the instigator, forgot about this. Just like the instigator has a section in the world, like a meta pocket dimension where he keeps shelved G-types, where he put R-type X for a little bit. There's also the same thing for the mutations that he had worked on. And I guess, they forgot about it, but Alice found it. Or I should say Skriller. So the AIOP is essentially an event of that is Dr. Skriller not only coming out to expose Tempest for his methods of awakening G-types, because to him it's crazy. To him, you're giving people a virus, and these people can die of their mutations. Some people have had difficulties, and he references a child that he somehow got information on it. When all it was is, Tempest has so much, he knows so much from previous cycles, and it all added up to him that it makes sense, and this is the best way he determined. That's why Polamic Stillwell says this is the best way to go about awakening G-types, because otherwise you have people turning into abominations, more so than not. So mind you, granted, the patent theory way, you can't come an abomination because you're essentially going in and extracting the information as opposed to the information being loaded onto you and you not being able to handle it. So Skriller, from his view, he's like, this is crazy. Like you're not only are you selective about who you give it to, they think that's shady, but people are being hurt and you're keeping it under wraps. Tempest doesn't want everybody to know that they can do this, or that kind of defeats the purpose of selecting who gets to get this, because the more G-types that are not bad, the better, because in past cycles there's always anarchy, and the Survey Day, or I should say the Survey Day, would use G-types against G-types when it came down to fulfilling Emerald Prophecy, causing chaos. So Tempest's vision is, the less chaos, the less G-types who are causing harm with their powers, the better. So he's tight-lipped about him being able to administer powers. He doesn't want to bring that kind of attention. And another reason he creates the new force, but we'll get to that. So the AIOP event is Skriller coming out, exposing, allegedly, exposing Tempest. He is exposing. And presenting his own way of his own theory, his own patent theory to the world, and starting his own force. When he heard that Tempest was doing it, he wanted to create his own, called the Prime Jumpers. Now, the Prime Jumpers is a name that one of the players created, one of our patrons, because depending on what tier you were, there are little certain details you can affect in this particular story. And I let those who are at a certain patron level submit what would the name be for the group that is made. Now, mind you, I don't know who's going to take which events. So in my head, I'm like, okay, there might be some people interested in forming a alternate group to Gate. Not necessarily bad guys, even though Skriller hates Tempest. Not necessarily bad guys, but just an alternate group. So I don't know how many people are going to join. So I'm like, okay, whatever this group is, this is what it'll be called. So I asked, and the patrons submitted, and NomKI submitted it, the Prime Jumpers. There were no players that went to that event to join that team. So that's why in the scene where Skriller and Clyde Godfrey's like, who wants to join? No one's joining. That was an NPC that joined. I thought it would be a good opportunity to bring an NPC. Whenever there's an opportunity to bring in an NPC, I likely will. That's what they're there for. That's what they're there for. If there's no player to fill the shoes, I'll definitely put an NPC in there. So, speaking of Clyde Godfrey, that is another NPC that was created by a player. And Skriller is an NPC created specifically for this event. So this is what happened. Nam Ki and Reznak chose this event. To learn more about Dr. Skriller. That's what they submitted. They wanted to go there to learn about Dr. Skriller and his theory. They thought that was interesting. And to keep tabs on things and report back. Keep tabs on things and report back to DefTude. So I played along with that. That's why the opening scene of that was DefTude coming to them and saying, hey, I want you to look at this. And, that's how the whole, it was kind of connected to Planet Theory. The only reason Planet Theory was connected to it being inside of the tank is one, because that's the only way G-types are made, because it's all inside of the tank. But two, it just started to make sense that DefTude would send them to investigate. So again, I'm playing along with what the player submitted. DefTude says, hey, take a look at this. But also there's a little bit of, there's an underlying factor here too in regards to the chemistry between all three of DefTude, Nam, and Reznak. You got to remember, Reznak is just waking up. This is Reznak. This is a new version of Reznak. He has been, his mind was suppressed, his true mind. There were parts of his brain that was suppressed. And DefTude believed it was time to unsuppress him so that he can live out the purpose of his creation. That Reznak is an alien from outside of the tank that was brought in here to perform a function, and to prosper and become the ultimate G-type, able to encompass all of the mutations that the Instigator and DefTude fix. DefTude went and got Reznak just for this. He had him smuggled into the tank without anyone knowing for the purpose of that. He's pretty much competing with the Libra cell that he originally created. But the Instigator kind of dropped the ball on it and made his own version. And DefTude was like, you know what, that's fine, because I have this other project, and that project was Reznak. So he had suppressed his memory because Reznak is of a race called the Elanthier. And they're different. So he needed to suppress his memories so that his knowledge of self doesn't interfere with his growth and development or his plans before it was time. He needed that Grenfall to occur first. So he had Nam. He taught, since Nam is a beast with tarot cards, he found a way to teach her how to use and how to affect the mind and the cognitive, personalities and the parts of the brain. And he helped her incorporate that into her special discipline, which involves cards and, various martial arts. And so this new Reznak, he's kind of snapping back. He's highly devoted to Nam Ki, and Nam Ki realizes that, she learns that, she notices that, but she also wants to see how different he is, if there's anything different. So she, throughout the episode, that's why you saw her kind of testing. She was paying a lot of attention to him. A lot of the things that she did was intentional to bring out reactions to see how he would react. However, Nam is also on her own path. The player Nam asked me to roll to see if she would intervene in anything. So every now and then I'll do like an additional roll to see what she does. The player of Nam likes to play that way, as opposed to saying what she's going to do. She just leaves it up to the dice the extra dice that she wants me to roll. For example, she says, hey, you know, if someone attacks, roll to see if Nam does something about it. If not, da-da-da. Same, just like when Nam and Javko Maz went to go kidnap Rezanok. She said in that submission, she said, if someone gets hurt in this fight, roll to see if she gives a damn. And she didn't. Her emotions got the best of her in that scene. So it was something similar here. When you see, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but we're on Nam. We're going to go in order. I think it'll be easier to go in character order, and I'll bring it back if I have to, but I'm going to go by character. So we're starting with Nam. Nam Ki, her goal was to, you know, again, test out Rezanok and, you know, investigate Skriller. That's the plan between her and Rez. They're kind of teaming up on this. She wanted to get a feel for where his allegiances lie. Now, as the director, I know where his allegiances lie because I see his submission. And Rezanok probably told her his submission. I don't know in how much detail, though. So it's my job to make sure that because she wants to see where his allegiances lie, I put in things that tell her where her allegiances lie. So when Rezanok, remember, Rezanok, look at his character sheet. His abilities are crazy. The way he operates. In the scene where Deathtooth pours that fluid to keep them hydrated because they can get dehydrated when they're in the cognitive realm, in Nam's cognitive realm, that whole scene was just to show that Rezanok is on, like, he's loyal, he's listening, he's tentative to everything. So when Deathtooth says drink this, that's why I had Rezanok drink it. Just no question at all. He trusts Deathtooth. He wasn't even dehydrated because he likely at the time had a mutation to keep him, you know, to adapt to the environment. But he drunk it anyway, and he suggested Nam drink hers, and she did. You know, it wasn't poison or anything. That was a real thing. I just wanted to show Rezanok's devotion and his trust. Without thinking, he drunk that shit. So that was that. But then also I also thought because these two are building a bond, to show her that he is devoted to Deathtooth. Granted, he's devoted. Rezanok is devoted to Nam too, but he doesn't find any harm in being devoted to both of them. So that's why the whole scene. That's why deciding to have them kind of clash, but not in a violent way, but in a way of progressing through the mission. Both of their goal was the same goal, was to investigate. Nam she saw the device that they were investigating getting ready to leave. So that is an opportunity and she wanted to jump on that. Whereas Rez is like, no, because Deathtooth said we shouldn't intervene. Clyde Godfrey is a beast. We should be, you know, it's dangerous. So, you know, moving on to Rezanok, his ultimate goal was to investigate and protect him and Nam, more so Nam. So by her wanting to go into, and, you know, jump in and all that, it ain't like she was going to jump up there and start beating people up. Because remember, Nova, which is Mr. Scorn's henchman, said, is there anyone out there who feels they want to be part of Anarchy's da-da-da? That was, Nam saw that as an opportunity. So Nam was like, going to take that opportunity, and Rezanok was like, that's dangerous. And if you think about it, it is, because we come to find out that there is no Anarchy Elite Squad. That's just Mr. Scorn selling motherfuckers on the mutant market out in space. So not, you know, Rez didn't need a power to know that. He was just following orders. Not only that, but he you know, Deathtooth said stay clear of that for now. Stay clear of Clyde Godfrey for now. So what Rezanok did was, in his perspective, he was saving not only the objective of the mission, but definitely Nam. He didn't want to get involved. And he knows Nam is stronger than him, on paper as well. And he doesn't want to fight her. He couldn't reason with her. He tried. He said, he straight up said, "Hey, yo, Nam, come on, Nam, come on, baby, come on, Nam." He got close up to her. "Come on, Nam, come on, Nam," and he was like, "Yo, this is like this moment. Like, I'm trying to learn more about myself. Death2 is helping. Let's just stick to the plan. Stick to the plan." But Nam is like, in the cards, and the way I justified her being so fucking hard headed. I wanted it to make sense on her, and I just didn't want her looking like a jackass. Let's just jump in. You know what I mean? So the way it was justified was she follows her own path. In the cards, she follows the cards. That's her special discipline. That's incorporated in her martial arts. It's based on the cards, and that's why I said, in her cards, she's going with those, and those are telling her, hey, today, maybe you should do something a bit spontaneous. Pretty much something like that. I'm not too knowledgeable of the tarot, but so that's why she was gonna go. And so the only way Rez could save the mission was to end the mission, and that was by putting her to sleep and getting out of there. Now, the reason he was able to do that is because Rezanok, the way his mutation works is he can adapt to the situation. I don't want to go too deep into that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'll elaborate. It's pretty deep. But he went into that event with particular mutations already. The types of mutations that he would use, he went in equipped with more so some utility things to keep him hidden and allowing him to escape and to protect them. So he ended up using those on her and escaped with her. And that's how that ended. But the main point of their scene was to show that they have a bond. Nam has been with Rezanok through all of this, and maybe there was a little time skip, but we can assume that they've been spending a lot of time together ever since he woke up. Not everybody, but some people are messaging me because I just posted the abilities. Questions are cool. So what was I saying? So we can assume that they spent a lot of time together, and they're a bit closer. I'm not saying they're in love or anything like that, but they are closer, and we're gradually showing that. Now, if they want to, this is just the introduction to a bond. So next, if they want to develop something, don't hesitate to take it really far. I don't think you need like 5 episodes to justify love. This isn't real life. Don't be afraid to say you love the person. I can write it in a way that made it seem like more transpired in between you two that would justify it. But what y'all are doing is good. You both said you wanted to build a relationship, and that's kind of how we're, this is a step in. We're stepping in that direction. So the groundwork is laid. So that's why the perks that you both got is very open-ended. I don't really know what y'all want to do, but it's open-ended. And what I'm pretty much saying is you both are pretty much charging up. And whenever you're ready to pull the trigger, we'll pull the trigger. The longer you build, the bigger the outcome of what you're trying to build will be. If that makes sense, reach out to me if you have any questions in regards to that. But the cool thing about P&D is I make the shit specifically for the person, for the characters. So one reward might not make shit sense to other people, but to those players, it might make all the sense in the world, and that's all that matters, right? So technically, they were the only ones in that event. However, there's a caveat. One, at the end of the scene, actually, let's start with Mr. Scorn. So, Mr. Scorn showed up, and she pretty much took everything. Now, mind you, Mr. Scorn did not pick that event. Mr. Scorn actually chose Crime Bloat. But I made a director's call and moved her into the AIOP. Now, it's not the first time I do what's best for the story, and it's not the first time I've done that. The last time I've done that was when I put Epony inside of the event where she was helping Tempest, because she said she was just going to help. It was very generic, and I felt like it would be good to put her in the event helping Tempest. It would just make for a better scene without hurting her.
Year-round temperatures and control humidity, bacteria, pollen, and dust. Clothing of the non-disposable variety will be stored in cleaning closets where a chemical vapor atmosphere and an ultrasonic...
So, Mr. Scorn went to Crime Bloat. Now, her objective was to pretend that Anarchy had an elite squad he was recruiting. She was the representative, and she was taking G-types away and selling them into the auction, the galactic auction. But she was blaming the disappearances on the Survey Day, which we got to remember, the Survey Day, they're done on multiple levels. Like, you got Tempest, who thinks they're still alive because that's the only thing he knows from past cycles. They weren't done until recently. So, the Survey Day is being blamed for a lot, and people were believing it because they were such a big thing. So the disappearances are being blamed on the Survey Day, which in return reinforces Tempest's theory, which is not entirely true. The Survey Day they're demolished. So he, technically he's right. There's no way he would know that they were just destroyed. You know what I mean? And that there's no more cycles. So it kind of sucks, but here you have Mr. Scorn kind of perpetuating his lie. She chose that event because you got to remember, Mr. Scorn is from outer space. So her idea of crime is not as little as people on the planet. So when I asked for crime, I was more so thinking like street crime. So she took the event. She was like, yeah, I'm selling motherfuckers on the auction. I was like, how can I fit that into what Drab is doing? So, because I wanted to do street shit with that event. So I was like, you know what? We can still work that out. I just put her in the AIOP, and made it so that the G-types she was recruiting, I sprinkled it throughout the episodes. If you recall, Shiro was doing investigating. He saw the person get the people in the van, recruit people in the van, and then the van drove off and got abducted by an alien craft that disappeared. That was Mr. Scorn's ships. So we finally see what's happening. Because she comes herself to meet Skriller. She takes all his research and all his workers, and they ask if there are any Alpha G types that want to come. But she was successful in doing what she needed to do. Now, the cool thing is Mr. Scorn's ability, she has some crazy diplomacy. Unquestionable diplomacy, to be exact, as her character sheet says. And she won the event, so she's not blowing people up, or she's talking, and her tongue is like a weapon. So that weapon is leveraged against Clyde Godfrey, who is trying to protect Skriller's best interests, but none of them are a match for her diplomacy. She pretty much talked Skriller into falling in line and getting on board and handing over everything to her. That's how much of a beast she is. Now, use your imagination in what she said. So use your imagination. That's why I broad stroked it and just said, she spoke of this and she was able to manipulate him. That's all that really matters to me. There's a lot of things that I leave up to the reader to interpret how they want to interpret it. Otherwise, these episodes would be a lot longer than they need to be. So use your imagination when she whispered secrets into Clyde Godfrey, or threatened to expose his secrets. Use your imagination on what those secrets are. Just know that was her using diplomacy, and it was a way to get him to fall in line. And I felt like that was a good way. That was the only reason first time that I would fully throw out someone's powers on the front on the table and explain what they do, because I wanted to show how powerful Clyde Godfrey was. Clyde Joffrey, how Godfrey. That's my Godfrey impersonation. That's a terrible impersonation. I just can't recall any of his jokes. Or Diago lines from Aladdin. So I really wanted to show, like, this dude's powerful. He could stop things in slow motion and see how things work. And just some he's really overpowered. You know, a lot of characters that are created that are overpowered, they're more just going to be used, because I want it to be exciting. If everybody's like I'm not gonna have fun writing someone who slows shit down. So they're good pieces to use in the story. In this instance, he's pretty much a weapon now. I wanted to show how powerful he was, so people can realize that it's not all about being overpowered. It's about role playing and using your abilities for in different situations and using and utilizing them in creative ways. He's super powerful, but she has diplomacy and she won the role. So that's how she was able to defeat him, and he now works for her. She pretty much told him he's going to work for her. When I picture Clyde Joffrey, I picture oh man, this is blasphemy. Why do I not recall the dude's name from Game of Thrones? Wow, I'm really drawing a blank right now. Damn, the Tyrion? Right? Right? So, Tyrion Lannister, right? But anyway, so she gets him. She gets all his research. She gets all his scientists. She gets Spiller, and they dip. Okay. Shiro was present. I forgot Shiro was there. He's everywhere. He's utilizing his clones, and he's allowed to do that because of his ability. So he really went balls deep with his duplication for his story phase. So he's there. That's just part of his investigation. So he's on the ship. He's on the ship. And then at the end of that scene, we see a mysterious figure on the digital clock tower. I forget what the name of the clock is. That is R-Type X. So R-Type X has a perk called Wanderer. He's able to create duplicates as well, just not on the same level as Shiro, because Shiro, that's his main ability, whereas creating energy clones is just something that R-Type can do with his energy manipulation, which is his main ability. So he can't really get as in depth as Shiro can with it. But however, I did give him a perk to go with that, because he's the Wanderer. He's everywhere. And so he can send a clone to an event to gain knowledge. And if he's at superhuman rank, he can not only gain knowledge, and by gain knowledge I mean just see what's going on, but if he's at superhuman rank, not only can he gain knowledge, but he can use Libra. So if R-Type, let's say if anyone fought in that scene, R-Type would see it, and it goes up here, and he'll remember it. So that's pretty much why that scene played out the way it did. Who's the real threat of Haven? Wadata, my damie. Wadata. The Gates' new force. Start with R-Type. R-Type's goal was to come and express and share his philosophy with Tempest, but ultimately side with Anarchy. Anarchy was going to come and upstage the summit by doing his own recruiting. And he was able to get R-Type to join up with him because they found common ground in their philosophies. And our R-Type X believes that in order to become strong, you have to face adversity and struggle. It's just life. It's survival. That's it. That's all it is. It's just natural life. He more so believes that saving people will cause a weakness in a person. It's not that what Anarchy is doing is extreme. It's that what Tempest is doing is extreme on the other end. When you think of the grand scheme of things. With the grand scheme of things in mind, he also believes that the world will be stronger and people will be able to defend themselves if they subscribe. If they didn't subscribe to Tempest, that things would be better for them. It's really a lot of different ways that they're looking at it. R-Type is leaning more towards Anarchy, which is why he joined them. But R-Type specifically wanted to protect Tempest and stop him because he feels like Tempest is a big key to something, which is probably why he didn't want him killed. Anarchy sees the same thing. Now, mind you, in an R-Type submission, he knew Epony was going to be there. He wanted to have a food eating contest with her. And I saw that as a great opportunity to get him to express to Epony his philosophy. Because Epony, poor Epony, the reason she went to Anarchy's side is only because she's following R-Type. I really highly doubt R-Type told her, hey, I'm going to sign up with Anarchy. I mean, if he did, he did. But I saw her submission. Her submission was seeing something in R-Type, creating a bond, and following him to the end of time. It just so happened that R-Type was going somewhere, and that was Anarchy's side. Therefore, Epony went with him. So it wasn't like Epony was betraying. It's just she wrote in. She's following R-Type. She's putting all her trust in his views and his teachings, and he was going over to Anarchy. So that's how she ended up going. So R-Type's submission was to come to this event. Now, if you recall from the previous episode R-Type was in, he was rescued from the facility by Saoirse. Okay, and remember, Saoirse stopped him from mutating because he's stuck in a state of mass mutation because he was frozen in a state of mass mutation by the instigator and locked up and frozen. Poke Turner came. Started fucking shit up. Unfroze him while he was mid-mutation. So that's why I remember R-Type burst out of facility. He was mutating, and Saoirse came and turned it off with her Aura Vitae, which is her ability to pretty much cause either life creation or the opposite, which causes abomination. So she was able to reverse that. It's a totally different type of energy she's able to manifest. Obviously an energy that he's not able to get in touch with. But that player didn't submit anything, so the story goes on. So that's why when R-Type shows up, he shows up as a kid, and he has a hat on made of Aura Vitae energy. So it's safe to assume whatever happened between him and Saoirse, he was able to obtain Aura Vitae and shape it into a hat. He's calling it the E-Fitted. The E-Fitted. And that stops him from mutating for now. So he comes to meet with Tempest, and they catch up on things, and he tells Tempest how he feels. There was a couple times Tempest kind of just waved it off. He heard him. He told him he needs time to digest it. But they gotta, we gotta keep this moving. I guess Tempest didn't really see how important it was to convince R-Type. He didn't know that, what was going to happen with him in Anarchy. So the whole time throughout the event, you see R-Type's there helping as he can, but you can tell he knows something's going to happen. He doesn't know what. He knows Anarchy's going to come and recruit people. He knows Anarchy is going to come and express his philosophy again and disrupt. Not necessarily kill everybody, we'll get to that, but he's like, he tried to tell Tempest, like, try to think another way, because pretty much, there's some people who think the way I'm thinking and maybe a little bit more extreme, but they're gonna take action. Let me see what I can do. Let me see who I can save. And he was able to bring Epiphany. Now, also, there was a person named Karma Kane. Now, Karma Kane is an NPC. It's an NPC that is someone who has been enlisted under Anarchy since maybe a couple seasons ago. Not a couple seasons ago, but a long time ago. Karma Kane is an Alpha G type who was in that big battle royale that occurred in the Shade District before the world was erased. Remember, Anarchy was working with the Survey Day, and the Instigator was like, okay, you can gather all the powerful G-types you want to the Shade District. We'll protect them from the erasure. And these will be, as a reward, they'll help you rule the next lifetime. That was Anarchy's reward from the last season, from the last cycle, for helping Instigator, that he would be able to pretty much rule everything. And that's why things are the way they are now, because he helped the Instigator in the last cycle. It's just the Instigator got kicked out. However, it's Anarchy's world. Anarchy was the first person the Instigator saw when the Instigator came to the planet, running from Mr. Scorn. But that G-type, Karma Kane, is a G-type, is a reward. I rewarded her to him. I let him come up with the ability that she would have. And as a reward, she is the survivor of the Battle Royale, or one of the survivors. Because you got to remember, Virus, Baseborn, and Timbers Gray also survived. They crawled inside that monster's body as everything went to shit. So she was meant to be a reward. He just never collected her. And so he found an opportune time to introduce this character that it was his reward from a previous cycle. And he wanted to introduce her as a person who came to Gate and wanted to be part of, something bigger. And kind of like a Harley Quinn Joker thing, she fell in love, or, she lusts for Anarchy. She was just so enraptured. She was just so raptured by this, by Anarchy and his philosophy, hearing it from his mouth. That's why I was really careful with not to make her seem like too much of a goody two-shoes. She was very neutral, but was more so in it not only to be part of something bigger, that was expressed when Tempest was recalling how he remembered her. He was told about her, and he was like, he didn't like the people she was around, but he commended her for her courage and being honorable. So So that's why those details were there. So when it came time for her to just up and go, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise. And again, Anarchy's philosophy is not evil. Maybe the way he's going about it, maybe they feel they can, change the way he goes about it. But for the most part, it's not evil. So she goes. So R-Type, Carmen Kane, and Eponine go. Let's go. Let's mix it up a bit. We're gonna go to Psycho. Now, Psycho Aurelio. What a weird order, right? Psycho Aurelio was called to carry out a task. So we gotta touch on Anarchy. I might as well go to Anarchy. So Anarchy was coming to, again, stay upstage and recruit. However, he made a deal with Ivan for his support. Anarchy didn't want to show up by himself. He probably could have, but mechanics-wise, he probably feel he would be at a disadvantage and or outnumbered. He didn't know how many people would come join Gates' new force. So he sought as much support as he could, and he got the support from Ivan Bakara. So if you recall in the episode with Drav and the episode with Akira Nagamoto and Yin Nagamoto, we learned that, we even learned from Jacob, I kind of sprinkled it throughout the episodes, that the black market is off. Nobody has access to the black market. And we learn that is because Anarchy 12 he is the black market. He is in charge of the black market. He creates all the crazy gadgets that go into the black market. He's the kingpin of the black market. And we learn that the black market is severed from everyone. And now it's explained that it's because he gave exclusive rights to Ivan to the black market. That's why. So Ivan, if you don't know this, Ivan has a criminal network. He is the inner circle. He's like the Illuminati of all crime in Haven. He earned that. That's one of his perks. So even if you're part of a gang, you might not know it, but you're just the outer layer of what he has going on. And so what he did was he got Anarchy to give him exclusive access to the black market. So if you are within his criminal network, Ivan will be able to provide you with some things if he wants to. So that's what happens. And in return, in Anarchy's submission, all it said was, I'm going to give Ivan this so he can support me at the summit. However, Ivan's submission was, I'm going to support Anarchy and destroy the Gate Center. I honestly don't even think that Anarchy knew exactly what Ivan was going to do. Ivan's a loose cannon, and he knows loose cannons. Let me double check. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Ivan said, Ivan's goal: gain exclusive rights to purchase technology for the network from Anarchy in exchange for our support at the Gate Summit, join his faction, and to destroy the Gate Center. Ivan will appear at the summit and converse with all others to barter for his support. Ivan will send elite network members with Selena Rend to assist with the capture of Gate children, data, scientists, and anything of value, and set high explosives to destroy the Gate Center and all associated buildings while using the summit as a distraction. Ivan will not engage with anyone who supports Anarchy or Psycho. Ivan will escape into the abyss, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it was like a chain reaction. So Anarchy got Ivan on board. It's like a game of telephone. And Ivan's like, okay, I'm going to help you, and I'm going to destroy the Gate Center. Mind you, Ivan is then also bringing his resources, which is Selena. And Selena straight up said, I'm going to assist Ivan at the gate center for the objective
The computer calculates
and support Ivan
exercise necessary
in combat by attacking any who oppose Ivan or Anarchy. Selena will not wait for full negotiations to come to close. All who oppose will suffer.
body is scanned for any isolated temperature pockets.
So, Ivan saying destroy gate. Selena saying destroy who oppose. One comes before the one's gonna come. One's Ivan's gonna just attempt to attack, and Selena's gonna support. Mind you, Ivan is in. Remember, he said he's gonna bring elite networks to attack with Selena. These elite networks are criminal networks. So who's in the criminal network? Psycho Aurelio crime family, which is why she shows up spraying the Uzi out of the truck, and Selena comes and just starts coming at their necks. So one thing, if things escalated, that's what happens when you bring in motherfuckers from the abyss. Things just start escalating. That's what happens when you bring Psycho. So Psycho joins in and she gets bonuses for causing chaos. Like she gets bonuses, like passive bonuses for causing mindless chaos. So she definitely helped. And Selena, of course, helps. And they do their fair share of destruction. So we see Psycho. She's pretty much a distraction, spraying, causing mass disarray. And then when it comes down to the wire, they start taking out some of the good guys. Again, Epony, she's neutral in all of this. She's really putting her trust in R-Type, and R-Type also does everyone a favor and stays out of this as well. He just had one condition, and that was to protect Anarchy and Epony, anyone he was able to convince. Like, if you think about it, Epony, if it wasn't for her saying she's going to follow him to the end, she would have been dead. I don't know how she would have tilted those tables. Because that's just such a different beast. You know what I mean? I'm not even going to speculate. Crime Bloat. The event Crime Bloat. Another complex event. We'll start with Jeremiah. Jeremiah's goal, the player, Jeremiah's goal was to begin his crime side, an alter ego, his own criminal organization. And he's able to do this with a little bit of technology, masking his face. He has the money and resources. It's just a matter of holding a secret identity, which is not a major ability. It's just a detail. His money can kind of get you that. I gave him, the technology to mask his face. But it's not a major ability. So at the end of the day, it's just a detail. You're not like Ryan Zaidi masking your face and stuff like that. It's just, but his goal was to do that. Now, Jeremiah Oliver as a character is a bad person. Look at his character sheet. He forces people to shake his hand. If they don't do what he does, they die. If they don't do what he says, he dies. That's how he rose to power. He's a bad person. And as a bad person, he's been doing a lot of good. Typically, that's how people with money operate. Smart people, at least. And so he joined the Gate Center way back in the beginning, maybe mid-season 1. He joins Tempest, and there's a scene where these two, go check it out. There's a scene where these two people meet, and Tempest, in all his submissions, whenever he's meeting someone or recruiting someone, he's specifically saying, I want to make sure they're on the up and up by reading their emotions. And there's a scene where Tempest meets Rezanok and Jeremiah O, because Rezanok used to work for Jeremiah O. He used to work for Atlas before he went off the radar. He shakes both of their hands. He senses joy in Rezanok, innocent joy. Remember, Rezanok, that shit was suppressed. That innocence is what masked that hunger But Jeremiah was all wrong. And Tempest saw it, but Tempest continued. I asked a player, I said, "You sure this is," I wrote in that episode, I highlighted that Jeremiah something's not right. You can go back to the scene and listen to it. I write it in a way that, because I know Tempest is still going to invite him. But I warn Tempest. I let him know, like, hey, Tempest, the player listening. I write it in a way so that Tempest knows, like, this person is. Just keep that in mind, Tempest. Tempest made a note of it, but he continued because Atlas brought a lot of money to Gate and allowed them to pretty much develop Gate. That's how they got the really great training room and all the top masters and trainers. It's because of Atlas Gate, for the most part. And Tempest, in the back of his mind, knows that in game, in the story, Tempest knows that Jeremiah is not on the up and up. So that goes up here. I don't know the future. I don't know when Jeremiah is going to decide to do some evil shit. But when he does, Tempest will have the heads up because he knew it. And so when Jeremiah met Tempest for the first time, Tempest was always skeptical of him. And the way it was explained in this, in addition to knowing this, now that Tempest can look back in past cycles at mistakes and leave notes for himself, some memento shit, he been warned himself of Jeremiah. Maybe there were a couple cycles where Jeremiah pulled the trigger on some betrayal shit and Tempest took care of it and warned, and Tempest went back in the past and saw it. And so that's why in this current cycle, Tempest never shakes his hand. And that was stated because of, the ongoing investigation he's been conducting and looking into the past. He made sure not to shake his hand because he's not going to fall for that mistake again like he did in a couple of the previous cycles. It's just a matter of when will Jeremiah start showing his true colors. And sure enough, it was this phase where the player of Jeremiah finally goes, I'm going to start doing some bad shit. So in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to, I wanted, for mechanics wise, I warned him. I said, hey, I just want to let you know that Tempest can read emotions. Okay? I didn't have to do that. Because I don't want to influence too much, but I feel like that was a mechanics thing. Maybe the player isn't aware of the meta and how I would have to act. I don't want the player to think that because Tempest knows these things, you got to assume Tempest knew these things as soon as you did it because he was already looking and he was already reading your emotions. He's not going to tell you he knows. He's going to wait for it to happen. So anyway, Jeremiah, the player, is like, all right, time to start some criminal shit. And in my head, I'm like, all right. Mind you, Jeremiah is in Crime Bloat. Tempest is in Gates New Force. Jeremiah's goal is to take over, successfully jumpstart criminal organization while staying completely anonymous. No one needs to know that Jeremiah Oliver will soon control all forms of business, lawful and unlawful, both sides of the coin. So no one knows this. He shows up to this criminal rendezvous that he put together. I made it so that Crime Bloat was actually created by him, Jace Oxen, his alter ego. This is created by him to get all of them to come together and tell them that he's taken over. And because I worked in that competition, that lore contest to decide what item's going to be available, I made that the reward. The focus of one of the focuses of the criminal rendezvous. And Jeremiah's goal is to he wanted to meet with a particular person. Darius Dwanhart is a leader of the pack, another gang. So remember, Jeremiah, he went there and he met another person who helped him get to connect to some other people that were coming, which were new other players that I linked in. So this Darius Dwanhart person was the link to getting these other two characters, Yin and Akira, in. But they were originally there to be the person that is of a smaller gang that Jeremiah sees potential in, and he did. During the meeting, Jeremiah will shake hands with Darius, giving him the following orders. So pretty much he wanted Darius, who had this other gang on the come up, to spread the word that Jace Oxen is the new boss in town. That was his original goal, but Jeremiah, it's safe to say, lost his role, and that's why things didn't go the way they did, but I still managed to keep some of what he wanted in there. So what was tweaked was Darius was not only someone that was a gang helping him, but also the connect. So, mind you, no one knows it's Jeremiah. No one here in this event knows it's Jeremiah. The only person that knows is actually Jeremiah is Tempest, and the gate people he told when he exposed them. We'll get to that later. So that's as far as I can go with someone who fails their role. So you get there, you gathered everyone. You're trying to take over, cool, but you failed the role because you got Drav, who was doing the same exact thing. Drav Komas, his goal was to come. His mission was very short and sweet. Drav Komas went to Crime Bloat and said, where are you at, Drav? Here he is. Drav wants to absorb as many gangs as he can into his organization / army, loosely bound mob, or of unruly G-types and hooligans. Drav, offer any leader who joins willingly a position as a lieutenant or whatever. That's what he says, lieutenant or whatever. Beat the shit out of anyone who tells him to screw off, and generally just be a tyrant. Beat the shit out of anyone who tells him to screw off. So that's why there was a scene where Jeremiah was like, I have no choice but to agree to this. Because Jeremiah is smart enough. You got the Wang gang there, Drav and all his goons and his mob and all these other gangs. Jeremiah is not going to, he's smart, so he's not going to fight him. You know what I mean? He doesn't even have a combat ability. He tries to shake his hand. Remember, he tried to shake his hand and Drav smacked it away. So he tried, but he's not going to fight Drav. But he did try to circumvent. So being smart, he fell in line. He played along. We'll put it at that. He failed to take over all the gangs because he was being overpowered and strong-armed. And he did, instead of being stupid and just fighting, I felt like if I would have had him fight, that would have been out of character. So I had him go for the handshake, which would have been different. But because Drav successfully beat him with the roll, I'm not going to have Drav shake his hand just so he can be killed later. So that's why he smacked his hand away. Get the fuck out. So that's what that scene was for. So essentially, Jeremiah came to take over the gang. Drav did too and won the role. So that's how that played out. Now, this is all layered because you got to remember Looper, Marshall, and Jacob were on their way. So I had a whole thing I wanted to happen before they even came because there's business that has to be done. They're coming to fuck up all this, but I want to establish the winners and, I want to establish what's going on with this rendezvous. It's really deep before they come. So the third part of this rendezvous, after Jeremiah comes, Drav comes, and cannibalizes Jeremiah, Yin and Akira Namagato are gangsters from Dorinthia. So they're writing saying that, so they submit, they join the game. I welcome y'all to the game. Don't worry, everybody. I made sure they're not the same person, because some people thought that, you got these two people and one's specifically designed to take care of the other one and is the muscle, whereas the other one has no muscle and has the smarts. So people were like skeptical. I talked to both of them. Hopefully they just didn't create 2 email accounts. I hope that's not the case. They're coming into the game all about business. So I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to bring in Dorinthia. So that's why they're coming from overseas. And it's a perfect opportunity because that was Akira's or Maxima's goal, was to be the pipeline. And it was perfect because the black market just got severed. So I'm like, this makes sense. This is why they would be coming over to meet with the crime lord, because they want to seize an opportunity. It's just crazy how shit plays out, right? So they come, I'm able to incorporate the lore contest with the ultimate weapon, the Fist of the Endless. And I remember when we did that and we did the vote, everybody was panicking that it was the Fist of the Endless. You got to understand, like, this is a story. You have no idea how this shit's going to be utilized. Like, that could have just been a something that just showed up and nobody got, or something that an enemy got or something. You know what I mean? And by enemy, I mean like an NPC. But this whole time, I was going to give it to someone, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let's see what they do with it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So I'm having them bring it over. I'm putting it in the enemy's hands. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I knew that Looper and them were coming. So once I knew who was going to do what, I'm like, okay, whatever item wins this, that's going to be what Akira and Yin bring over, whatever it's going to be. So I reached out to my our good friend. Sorry, I can't remember your name because you have the same icon as another person, but it's the person that designed. Sorry, dude. The person that designed the Dorinthian cash box. I said, hey, can you design something that something can be held in? And he put that together. So they're bringing that over as a token and use this leverage. And they end up giving it to Drav because Drav at this time is strong-armed everyone and has taken over. So at this point, their goal is to become the pipeline. Okay? And they were successful at that. Granted, they lost the entire event, but they won that portion for their own personal narrative and character development. They are now the pipeline. They were able to convince Drav, which was easy. Drav doesn't have a diplomacy or a bargaining or negotiating bone in his body. And Drav said it himself. Anyone who this is another major detail that I weighed on. Drav said he's going to offer a position to anyone who wants to help. If they don't, he's going to fuck them up. Why would Akira and Yin not want to help? That's what they came over for. Remember, I had Maxima or Akira say, well, she can kind of witness, she can kind of sense that Jeremiah was just strong-armed, and she's going to go along with Drav. Why would she go against that? She's not there to fight. She's there for business. So she's like, okay. And then she talked him into a better deal for her. And then Looper, Marshall, and Jacob come. And I did that in the recap of that episode. So they are successful. They beat them. And of course, I had to find a way that they could beat them. And that's why everything played out the way it did. But again, I wanted to have Looper and Yin fight. And so they did. Yeah, I pretty much covered that already. Um, is there anything behind the scenes that I wanted to share about Looper, Jacob, and Marshall? That I haven't already covered? If you have any questions, let me know. Actually, I think someone submitted a question through Patreon because I asked if you had any questions. Feel free to shoot them in. If you have any questions in regards to the episode, let me know. Let me see. What the feck is Anarchy 12's new body made of, and how much control does he have over its functions? Okay, that's a good question. So Anarchy 12, when he first started off, he had an exoskeleton suit, very advanced, even at the time. But then he did a mission and started working with the Survey Day, and they gave him, he captured a Survey Day alien, the Uncount. He captured them and reverse engineered their ship and their technology. And then I gave him a keyword called alien technology that he applied to his his ability of technology, and he turned that into a suit, which is why it has the green in it, because it's reversed alien, it's reverse engineered. Uncone, the people who created the tank, it's reverse engineered. That's why it has that green, but it's all black, crystalline, and you can see the galaxy and nebulas in it. That's just the aesthetic of it. It's safe to assume he has control over every aspect of it. He created it. Not only that, but he can control technology. He has it linked up to Oracle, which is something else he created, which is a result of another reward. So he uses his rewards, and he's very, 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 very detailed with how he uses them. He has a plan. So hopefully that answers your question. Now that a lot of the heroes have been either crippled in their capabilities or have been killed, will you be introducing more hero NPCs to counter the villains? So I kind of answered that earlier. I'm not going to pour hero NPCs in there strictly to counter the villains for the purpose of countering villains. This is a game that I plan on, this P&D in general. This is a pastime for me. I don't plan on stopping. I view it as seasons. We'll all look back on the time when there were no heroes and remember when the Haven was ugly? It was really ugly. There were no heroes. You know what I mean? So I really want the series to be defined by what players are playing in their characters. So I'm not opposed to just, even if they were just all villains, I'll make a story out of all the villains. You will make stories amongst yourselves, and I'll carve something out of it. So I will throw heroes in there every now and then. For example, Michael Holland is a hero NPC. I only have the heroes that you submit, but at the same time, there's going to be heroes that I just won't touch for a while until I deem it necessary. Not because they're heroes. I'm not going to put them in because they're heroes. It would have to make sense. So, what that means for the heroes is they're just going to have to move different. They're going to have to move differently. They're going to have to band together. They're going to have to stay in story mode and try to develop themselves. No different than it doesn't come to mind, but when the villain is outside running everything and you're trying to build up your strength, like History of Trunks. When Gohan and Trunks were like trying to get strong to fight the androids, like they had to stay hidden for a while and train underground. You know what I mean? Some Terminator shit. There will be a time where there will be heroes that come in. Invite some people, tell them to be a hero. So hopefully that answers your question. But you got to remember too, the villains have been crippled. Maybe not like the top tier villains like Anarchy if you consider him a villain. But the whole way, all of Haven's crime has just been bodied because their whole objective was to cripple the criminal infrastructure of and those are all the crime lords in Haven. So that's one aspect of the bad guys, like that's really, 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 really hurt. So other than Anarchy and the Gate Center being destroyed, it's kind of like Gate crashed, but also crime crashed. So it's y'all kind of just really traded really heavy blows. If you want to think of from my perspective, because I'm looking at the grand scheme, things are still kind of even because remember, Tempest and them all sat at the table to decide what's important. The crime bloat was one of them. The crime bloat has been taken care of. Now you just got Anarchy and the Survey Days a non-issue. And that leaves Anarchy. And I just remember Tempest is alive. He's in Nebu. That was the whole reason why that Nebu episode was there. Remember I said it was important because I knew what was going to happen in Haven. So Nebu is kind of like that second string. Okay, it's on y'all now. You know what I mean? As far as any legitimate chance at a organized conglomerate of heroes, looks like it's going to be in Nebu. The Valkyries, which are hero characters created by Makai. So there's some heroes in there. They're just. I'm not driving all of them. I'm putting them in there. I'm setting up the table. If you look at that here, the summary reward sheet, some people got set up real nice. Look at the rewards that other characters got as a result of their actions. There are some things in there that can really shake the game up. Not to mention some of the newer characters that are coming in. Even a neutral character can shake the game up. They don't gotta necessarily be a hero. So just keep that in mind too. It's not all doom and gloom. I paint it that way because it's an ugly city, and when something good happens, that was why when Looper and Marshall came and took care of business at the end scene, the clouds parted, the sun was shining on their cliff, and they were looking down like, yeah, motherfuckers. So yeah, let's get through this. The Frontier Underbelly. Surprisingly, a lot has gone, like as fast as it seemed, a lot happened. So the Frontier Underbelly, you got to remember, when the Grinfall hit, it destroyed the Frontier District, made it a really crazy mess, as usual. That's usually what happens. Every cycle, the Frontier District gets the worst. Grinfall comes and turns people out, turns them into gamma zombies. But this time, Nibble Threndorn was able to kind of contain it with his bubble up. But that's all they could do at the moment because everything that's happening was contain it. Meanwhile, underground, shit's getting crazy. I mentioned the Bayou. The Bayou is another place where all the undesirable G-types go. This was created by Ivan, the player of Ivan. So this is an event where if it went unchecked, it would become a major problem. Kind of like Village. Because I have something cooking under there and I wanted to see if anyone would go take care of it. I wanted to see, that's why I wanted to give the Gate Center, I wanted to kind of tell them like, hey, you should really weigh out your problems and see which is more important. And the Frontier Underbelly is a building problem. And no one took care of it. People did go, but it wasn't to take care of it, really. So I'll break it down. The two people that went were the facilitator, who, remember, is where we last saw the facilitator, the brother of Instigator. They got separated. Anarchy shot the facilitator. He fell into the city below and ran because Anarchy sent the Chimera after him in Gorgons. So we pick up where we left off with that. He's still running. He's going there to manipulate the hordes of gamma zombies and lead them somewhere where they can be of use, something like that, by possessing their bodies. It's going to possess each one and I guess do something with them. But it doesn't matter because at the same time, Poke Turner's going there just to fuck shit up. His goal, Poke Turner, was to go and cause chaos for anyone that went to that mission, meaning that he's going there to fuck with the facilitator because that's the only person that's there. Now, how can I have Poke Turner fuck with the facilitator if he can't see the facilitator? Well, just so happens the facilitator wants to possess gamma zombies, right? So indirectly, the facilitator got fucked with by Poke Turner because the facilitator was in a body. Poke Turner literally in his event said he wanted to go and teleport all the gamma zombies to different parts of Haven where they can be a bigger problem. And that's what happened to an extent because he also got fucked with, Poke Turner. So the facilitator, I pit him against Poke Turner because that is his enemy. And Poke Turner, he wasn't able to overcome that. However, Poke Turner lost the event. He was unsuccessful in the event because he was disrupted by Anarchy, who has a perk that allows him to send 2 androids to an event. That's why every now and then you'll see an android to pop up. Like, remember that one scene in season 1, the B2 brawler showed up at gate? That was Anarchy. So whenever like an android pops up, it's because Anarchy can't send them after a person. His perk just lets him send them to an event to disrupt and sabotage and decrease the chances of success. And he was able to disrupt Poke Turner's chances of causing chaos by causing chaos on Poke Turner, which is why Poke Turner did his dirt. Poke Turner did his dirt. And then the Wanderer appeared behind him inside of his bubble and they scuffled a little bit and he got injured. I mean, that's as much as you can hurt somebody like Poke Turner without killing him. So that's he got the sword through the shoulder. But it was kind of a warning shot, like you're not safe either, Poke Turner. Anarchy knows you exist now. He even knows, oh, I gotta add that. I forgot to add that to Anarchy's sheet that he has knowledge of the Neutros realm. I'll add that. But so Facilitator went and failed. Poke Turner failed, but he managed to fuck with the Facilitator as well. And teleported the Facilitator while he was in the body. So here I am injecting NPCs into the thing. I thought it would be cool to put in a really powerful NPC. R-Type X's father from Ray Lagar. Everybody's coming over to Gamma Haven because Gamma Haven's the wet Wild Wild West. All the nations are trying to remember, even Nibu. Makai's daughter was saying how this is a perfect opportunity because Anarchy's taking over. We got to go help. We got to, we can kind of get a footing. Dorinthea's like, we want to go over there and take control of the gangs and crime and resources. And Ray Lagar is like, we should probably go over there too. So the king goes over there for business. They got people to watch Ray Lagar. If the Wanderer can just get up and go, the king can get up and go. So here you have the king in there. And the Facilitator has an ability that allows him to possess. He can't just possess people unless their body is an empty vessel, unless they kill him, unless they kill the body he's in. So that's why the Facilitator is in the body of some Gamma Calidians. Poke Turner displaces him, teleports him. He lands in front of the king, and the Facilitator sees an opportunity. The king kills him, and now the Facilitator is inside of the king. The Facilitator king. So that's how that happened. But what's even cooler is the fact that Anarchy sent the Wrath Chimera and the Wanderer. And the fact that Facilitator was already running from the Wraith Chimera, that's why I just continued that scene. I could have just made it another Wrath Chimera, but he was already running from the Wrath Chimera, so that's why the scene started off with him running from the Wrath Chimera that Anarchy sent. Would have been OD if it was 2 Wrath Chimeras. So that's how that happened. So Poke Turner lost. The Facilitator lost, but he has a new body. Which is another reward that shakes things up a bit, because with that body, he's now very, very powerful. Now I'm looking forward to see what he does with that body. Because remember, he's meeting up with the Instigator. And the Facilitator is already a very intelligent person who can manipulate people, and typically things you don't see on someone really strong. So you have somebody who can manipulate people with illusion magic and manipulate and deceive them, and he has persuasion. But now he's also in the body of a person. He can't get their mental abilities, so he don't know how to create energy. I don't know what. I don't know, other than from what was provided, what the King of Raylagar can do. But I do know he is a major combatant. That is outlined, that he has an intense fighting style. And it doesn't matter, because Facilitator can't use mental attacks. But he can use the entire physical suite of a character. So best believe that's all he really needed. He just needs, it's better than a Gamma Calidian, I'll just tell you that. And then on to some of the story options. And the story options are, they were sprinkled throughout. So you got Shiro Aoi. His goal was to get in the mix, learn everything. That's why he has a lot of knowledge that he gained from his story, because he's everywhere. And he trained a bit, so he's tight. He's nice and tip top shape. I pretty much explained everything he was doing throughout all of this. Makai failed his over in Nibu. His goal was to just become a leader. Now remember, story phases can be failed. I roll, depending on how hard what you're doing. If what you're trying to do is really hard, obviously if it's hard, it's going to hopefully it would have a bigger reward. It should. I mean, it depends on what you're doing, right? Makai wanted to become leader of Nibu. That was a role. That was a crazy role. He failed. Y'all saw it. And I needed to come up with a reason of how he would fail it, which is why it turned out to be because everybody felt that they should give Amanda V a chance because the trials were right around the corner. Let's hold off on this. Let's let her become, see if she can become worthy, and then challenge you for the throne. So you failed. I need to make it interesting. So they pretty much postponed it. Vector Issa, and Ninja Bello, you attempted to assist him. Y'all both got something out of it. Like Vector Issa, you can best believe your success is his success, because when he gets successful, because you are you're supporting him. You're part of his backup, his patron tribe. And Ninja Bello, granted he didn't get it, but you are now the top geneticist, as you see on your ability, on your reward summary. Myra Dare and the Instigator. I think I broke that down, right? I broke that down, but just to recap, Myra, you're on the island. The Instigator is on his base. Lord Bavrinth didn't submit anything. Instigator won. You tried to get away on Instigator's ship. Instigator wasn't in on that, so he stopped you. And that's that. The Instigator has the Advocate. He brought back Advocate. And this is a different Advocate. It's not the same Advocate that was designed to be a political or diplomatic person. This one's a little bit different. You'll learn more about that. And Lectern, your job, your story option is very simple, a very great introduction. to your character, you got your money. But I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting than that, so I made it so that the person is the White Knight, who is a very powerful G-type. Y'all want to talk about bringing in heroes? Just look at White Knight. Go to Lectern's character sheet, look at the White Knight. And look what the White Knight can do on by himself. I threw that in there because Lectern is not a person that's like, it doesn't seem like he's going to be a factor, or, you know, at least not yet. He seems like he's doing his own thing, which is why I gave him a character like that, a powerful NPC like that, because I feel like he would do something interesting with it because of he's doing his own thing. He just wanted to get his fucking money back and run Palladio. So, ironically, one of his slaves is one of the most powerful characters ever created. He's just unawoken. He's not awake yet. And that's William White Knight, serving Jacob and shit. So deceased characters. Timbers Gray just got caught in the crossfires. The reason Tempest Gale Gordon is not dead is because his rank wasn't in, he wasn't eligible to die. However, you and Neville Threndorn were. Selena and Psycho, they were all bunched up with Anarchy, so that rank is, we're going off of Anarchy's rank. Technically, I could have had Anarchy kill you, since he's the reason you're dead. But his submission wasn't to literally go and attack people. He did in the submission say if somebody got froggy, he would leap. But Selena and Ivan, they were taking the initiative on attacking people, and that's why, and Psycho, and that's why they did pretty much the dirty work. But essentially, you were fighting Anarchy. So Timbers is dead, but he was able to inform Tempest of the true future of Haven, his vision. Will Tempest use that to his benefit? Is it true? Is there any truth to this? Do we know what this, where this device comes from? That guy, Timbers' friend, I forget his name, he still has the device. But Timbers relayed the information. Will anyone use it? Is that information about a glowing red person? Is that important? Who is the true threat to Haven? So hopefully Timbers didn't die for nothing. Let's put it that way. Now, Neville Threndorn, you're dead as well. Clearly because you were a new person, you just ended up in the wrong place and at the wrong time. On the topic of dying, it's permadeath. It's permadeath. 3 abilities, character background, brief history, some details. And the reason it's so light is because it's permadeath. Like, I don't want you to go hard creating on this character. I mean, if you want to, cool. Cool. But just know that they can die any minute, any episode. So unfortunately, this was your second episode, and you ended up getting killed. Keep in mind, when you die in this game, a character created an afterlife, and that's Ivan Bakara. He created the void realm where souls go, where life essence goes when it leaves the body, when it dies. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to make it so that you have a choice, as opposed to just creating a new character. And I want to say this because Neville Threndorn, you created a new character. I haven't gotten a chance to look at it yet. I'm sure it's fine. But in case you didn't know, and you probably don't because you're fairly new, in case you didn't catch up on the older episodes where something like this happened with Makai. Remember, Makai Funuichi used to be Makai Funuichi. Now he's Void Makai because of what I'm getting ready to say. So when you die, you have the option of striking a contract with Ivan, because your soul's going to go to the void and be in limbo. Unless you're at Servi Day, it's going to get sucked in by the Ikermancer. Ivan will, if you want to strike a deal with Ivan, let me know. Ivan is going to, pretty much the end goal of Ivan, he wants to put your soul into another body. So essentially it's like creating a new character, but you have your memories and you keep, I believe you keep, what was the system I got? I have something I have my commit, what I want in the contract, and then the rest is up to Ivan. Y'all gotta come to an agreement, because sometimes he wants some things in order to have your soul put into a body. But what's a must is when you get your soul put into a new body, I still want there to be that piece of your old person, kind of like Spawn. Okay, you still have that old person. You got some new abilities, but you're tainted. Hence Void Makai. And what we did with Void Makai was I allowed him to, that's what it is, keep two of your, I think it was, you can keep two of your old abilities, but one has to get switched out. Yes. You keep one ability, two get switched out with the new abilities of your new body, and one of those two new abilities. No, you keep two of your old abilities. You keep two of those old abilities and one new ability to represent, what you're getting from the new body. And the old abilities have to be altered in a way to show that you are now dead and or from the void. So for example, Void Makai, he kept chi manipulation, he kept combat specialist from his old self, but he had to get a new ability, which he chose. And I made him change his chi manipulation to undead chi manipulation. So instead of, he used to glow blue. When he fought R-Type, he was glowing blue. Now he glows purple. If you didn't know, his chi color changed because it's undead chi, and he can manipulate undead chi. He can manipulate chi still, especially the dark properties of chi. And that's his issue. A lot of people are like, yo, you are corrupted. And he's like, I'm good. They don't know about his contract. So the contract is up to Ivan. So for example, Ivan has something with Void. Not everybody knows, but he has a contract that there are certain things that Void Makai has to adhere to. Like he can't betray Ivan, or Ivan will just kill him. Take his soul back out of the body. Destroy the soul, whatever. Put his soul inside of a fucking beach chair. Beach chair Funoichi. So you'll work that out with him. Ivan is a businessman. He's not evil. He's kind of new in the grand scheme. He's more neutral. He's not evil. So he's not really looking to screw you over in a contract. He's more so trying to see what can we do for each other. So if that is an option, if that's something you're into, you want to build on your character on some Spawn type shit, that could be a whole nother storyline. Maybe one day all the people that Ivan has signed revolt. You see the relation he has with Selena. Selena's very powerful. They coexist with each other. Void Makai coexists with Ivan. Granted, Ivan, can cut him loose, but it's just an alternate option to starting a new character. Oh, and I think I let Void Makai. I gotta ask Void Makai. It's gonna be different. It depends on the character. It depends on the scenario. On what rank you'll have in this new body. I think I'm leaving that up to Ivan, because I think what he wants is you give him some of your character's old rank. He takes that, and you get to keep the rest. Shit like that. I'll leave that up to him. But I really want to do it I want to make it unique for every person. Depending on what your previous ability, it might kind of mesh with the new things. So we might be able to come up with something. So just keep that in mind. That's an option when you die. The point is, your old person is gone, but your soul still lingers. Yeah. So that's the recap. Hopefully I was able to kind of cover some things, shed some light on some things. If you have any questions in regards to my post in Discord, that's the way, all I'm saying is, I understand if you watch everything and you have questions, I can clarify things, but I sprinkle things in there that explain things sometimes. So that's why it's important that you just watch everything. Soundbreaker. That's a name that I wanted to see because that's a new character and that person seems interesting. They just messaged me. But yeah. There's some announcements coming, and I would like to get the phase open soon. I'm going to be experimenting with a new way of writing so I can get so episodes can come out more frequently. I'm going to test run it. I would prefer to do this way. It's the way it was supposed to be from the beginning, but I get a little ambitious with the storylines and get a little carried away. I think this new way will be better for multiple reasons because of what I'm rolling out soon. It might be a little jarring, but I think it'll be appreciated in the end the way I'm going to be doing these. So stay tuned. Thanks for playing. Great job role playing, and I will see you soon.